What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and welcome to Week 3 of my weekly NFL Pick show for the 2014-2015 NFL season. So Week 2 has passed us by. Week 2 did a little bit better than we did in Week 1. Wasn't a huge step forward, but you know what? It was movement in the right direction, and as long as I can say that every week, eventually I'll be going 16-0. A guy can dream, right? So let's take a peek at our Week 2 results before we get into our picks for Week 3. We'll start with the big three against the spread, of course. In Week 1, like you saw, I only went 1-2. Well, I flipped that in Week 2. In Week 2, I went 2-1. I told you to correctly take Arizona -1 and Houston -3. Both of those worked out. And I told you to take Tampa Bay -5.5. They actually ended up losing that game. So Tampa Bay -5.5 did not work out, unfortunately, but got Arizona -1. Got Houston -3, so we were 2-1 in Week 2. Overall, we're 3-3 on the season for the big three against the spread, but again, moving in the right direction. And looking at my overall against the spread numbers on the season, I'm back on the happy side of 500, happily. Against the spread in Week 2, overall, I went 9-7. And again, you can check out all of my against the spread picks for the week in the description to the video. So I went 9-7 overall in Week 2, which is better than the 7-8-1 that I went in Week 1. So we sit at 16-15-1 against the spread on the season. So again, on the happy side of 500. I should have even done better in Week 2. I can't nail that Monday night game down yet. I think I've got both the Monday night games wrong. I think I might have gotten a couple of the Sunday night games wrong as well so far. So I can't get those Monday nighters nailed down, but again, moving in the right direction. Going to keep moving forward. Taking a look at the platinum, gold, silver, and bronze picks from Week 2. Again, I only went 2-2. It was the exact opposite of last week. Last week I got my platinum and bronze and missed the gold and silver. In Week 2, I got the gold and silver, and I missed the platinum and the bronze. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. I'm 1-1 on every pick so far. Bronze pick, I told you to take Seattle to beat San Diego. That didn't work out. So, of course, our friend, who shall not be named, I'm sure, is still crying in a ditch somewhere. Don't blame me. I took your team on the video. San Diego drops Seattle in San Diego 30-21. This is a pretty big upset, even though it was on San Diego's home turf. I mean, very few people, I think, went into this game expecting San Diego to beat Seattle, but hey, that's how it happens. But for one, don't buy into this whole Richard Sherman got exposed hype. That's garbage. It's football. It's football. Everybody says Darrelle Revis is the greatest cornerback in the last 5 years in the league or whatever. Darrelle Revis gets beaten for touchdowns all the time. I never bought into the idea that Darrelle Revis was the best cornerback in football, but everybody else seemed to. But whenever he gets beat, it's just like, oh my God, he got exposed. No, it's not an exposure. It's just the way football is played. Silver pick, I told you to take Denver to beat KC. That worked out, but the game was closer than many people thought it was going to be. Denver beats Kansas City 24-17. Really makes me wish I would have taken that KC plus 13.5 pick on the video, but it was a little too volatile, and Denver could have run the score up on them. But I had this gut feeling that that game was going to be close, which is why I took KC plus 13.5 in with the rest of my weekly ATS picks. I just didn't put it on the video. And also, for everybody in Kansas City who's kind of pressing on that panic button because Jamal Charles is injured now, that injury is less significant than it's being blown up to be right now because you got Knile Davis. Fearless forecast for the next 4 weeks until Jamal Charles comes back, if that's the time frame. Knile Davis is really going to carry this team. He's going to have some great games, whether it's at home or on the road. Knile Davis is going to prove that he's a capable starting running back in this league. My gold pick, I told you to take Green Bay to beat the New York Jets. That worked out. 31-24. Green Bay spot the Jets a pretty big lead there and battle all the way back on home field, as Green Bay has been known to do before. But I'm just going to throw this out there. Green Bay is a candidate for the worst defense in the NFL. God damn, that defense is bad. I think I could pass on that defense. That's how bad they look. But you know what? When you got Aaron Rodgers behind center, Aaron Rodgers can get it done even if the defense can't. That's what they proved in this game. Green Bay down to the Jets 31-24. And the platinum pick, I told you to take New Orleans to beat Cleveland. I thought that was going to be a total blowout. New Orleans loses this game to Cleveland 26-24 on a last-second field goal. It's a heartbreaking loss for the Saints, and they are now 0-2, but at least they're finally heading back home this week. But that defense in New Orleans needs some serious adjusting. That is a good defense there. I don't know if they're just still getting used to the scheme or just getting all the pieces in the right spot, or it's just been bad luck. But whatever it is, that defense really needs to gel and come together here. I mean, starting at 0-2, that really puts New Orleans behind the 8 ball to make the playoffs. I think most people would look at this team and go, yeah, that's a playoff team. So here's my question to you before we go any further. In the comments section, I want you to tell me, are the New Orleans Saints a playoff team by the time the playoffs come around in January? My personal opinion, I think they are, but at the same time, they might have to win 7 or 8 in a row to put themselves back into the discussion of making a wild card. And it's way too early to be speculating on any of this, but it's always fun to do a little bit of that, mental masturbation. So taking a look at my straight-up numbers and the numbers in the private pick'em pool, straight up in Week 2, I went 10-6, which was 1 better than I did in Week 1, where I went 9-7. So overall on the season, I'm 19 up, 13 down straight up. In the private pick'em, I currently sit tied for 14th out of 33. We picked up one more, with 150 of 272 possible confidence points for a clip of 55%. And in Week 2, I raked in the exact same amount of confidence points I raked in Week 1, that being 75 out of 136 for that 55% clip. Shout out to our Week 2 winner, Mega Awesome 1121, a young man who has been in my pick'em leagues, I think every year, like parts of every year that I've done them. So Mega Awesome 1121 wins the week, though he only went 8-8 straight up on the week. He did a better job of managing his confidence points than the rest of us in the league, got 86 of 136 possible confidence points for a clip of 63%. And shout out to our new overall leader, and it's a familiar name, Too Easy Part Deux. Too Easy Part Deux takes over from Teddy Ted's varsity squad. Too Easy is 18 up, 14 down on the season, 169 out of 272 possible confidence points for a clip of 62%. So shoutouts to Mega Awesome 1121 for winning Week 2, and Too Easy Part Deux for being our new overall leader. I'll take this point in the show to remind everyone that by checking the description of this video, you can find all of my Against the Spread picks every week. You can find the details on how to join the Bridgewater's Finest Pick'em Pool for Season 3, and you can also find links to many, many other quality YouTube football prognosticators on YouTube. You can find all that in the description of the video. Go check it out. Alright, so let's get on to our Week 3 picks now, and we're going to start with the big 3 against the spread, where again, I am 3-3 so far on the season. My number 3 against the spread pick this week comes in the Washington at Philadelphia game. Philadelphia is favored by 6.5 at home. I kind of struggled with the game that I was going to take for this third one. It was either going to be Washington at Philly or Tennessee at Cincinnati. Now, if you check the picks in the description below, you'll see that I've taken Cincinnati minus 6.5. I would have been more confident with that if I knew the status of A.J. Green. It's kind of up in the air right now. We'll see what happens after practices today. If A.J. Green plays, I'm very confident in that pick. If he doesn't play, then it's kind of a gray area, because while I don't believe in Tennessee, they seem to be able to kind of pull shockers when I don't think they're going to. So I would be more confident in that if I knew A.J. Green was going to play. Washington, of course, major injury issues after Week 2, losing RG3 for an indeterminate amount of time, and they may also be without the services of Deshaun Jackson. Meanwhile, Philadelphia has stayed relatively healthy, at least with their big weapons. Nick Foles looking fairly good, and LaShawn McCoy looking just dirty. Now, I tend to agree with the analysts that say that the offense that Washington is running is arguably in better hands with Kirk Cousins than it is with RG3, just based on play style. So I think you'll actually see an upswing in the output of Washington's wide receivers, if nothing else, at least from a fantasy perspective. But that, of course, is fantasy, and in reality, Philadelphia is just a better team. I don't imagine Washington going into Philadelphia and hanging up a loss on the Eagles, who may finally look like they're putting everything together. So I'm going to take Philadelphia at home -6.5 against Washington. That's the number 3 play on the Big 3 ATS. My number 2 play on the Big 3 against the spread this week comes in the Baltimore at Cleveland game. Cleveland are 2-point dogs at home. The last time these two teams played in Cleveland, the Browns came out with a big divisional win against the Ravens. That, of course, came on the heels of 4 straight Ravens wins in Cleveland, and Baltimore has just tended to dominate this matchup. That line of +2 is deceptive. In this case, it's basically a pick'em because, 2 points, really, what's 2 points? So in the case of push or pick'em, I gotta go with the team that I think is legitimately the better team, and I really do think legitimately the better team here is Baltimore. That being said, I like what Cleveland's got going with their running backs here. Terrence West, I believe it is, and he is looking really, really good so far this year. Baltimore came out and got a big win last week in the face of the whole Ray Rice situation, and I really do think they're going to keep that momentum going in the divisional game. This is a matchup that they dominate, and they can go in and they can do the same to Cleveland again. So I'm going to take Baltimore -2 in Cleveland as my number 2 play on the Big 3 against the spread. And my top play on the Big 3 against the spread this week comes in the San Diego at Buffalo game. Buffalo are favored by 2.5 points at home. Buffalo's got to be one of the surprises of the NFL so far this year, starting the season off 2-0. Meanwhile, San Diego has faced some stiff competition so far this year, coming out with a big win last week against the Seahawks. On the side of the Bills, C.J. Spiller is back and healthy, and really it seems like everybody on that team is clicking. In San Diego, Phillip Rivers laughed in the face of that Seattle defense, and Antonio Gates turned back the clock for multiple touchdowns. In a game like this, with 2 offenses that seem to be clicking, the game may well come down to who I think has the better defense, and I think it's marginal, but I actually think it's San Diego. In what I think is going to be one of the more entertaining games in the week, I'm actually going to take San Diego +2.5 at Buffalo for the top play on my Big 3 against the spread. Now let's take a look at the platinum, gold, silver, and bronze picks for week 3 in the NFL. We start with the bronze pick where I am 1-1, a game we've already talked about, the Cleveland Browns at home to the Baltimore Ravens. So you already know that I think Baltimore is going to win this game. But here's a question for you as well. Who do you think is going to win that division? Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, or Cincinnati? And tell me why. So you guys already know this. For my bronze pick, I'm taking Baltimore on the road to beat Cleveland. There you go. The silver pick, where I'm 1-1 so far this year, has the Jacksonville Jaguars hosting the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts, of course, lost a heartbreaker to the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night, and I swear to God, I'm trying really hard, harder than I have in other years, trying really hard not to pick on the Jacksonvilles, the Oaklands, the Giants. I'm trying really hard not to pick on the bad teams, but sometimes you just can't avoid it. Colts have to be upset with that loss from last week. That was a game that they looked like they had in the bag. Like I was saying on the YouTube Prognosticators Facebook page, a 20-6 lead seems like it's the worst lead in football now, because Indy was leading that game with Philly 20-6. They end up losing the game, and that has happened multiple times already this year. The Colts have to be upset with that. Defensively, they did not play up to expectations. Against Jacksonville, they're going to have a chance to stunt, pin their ears back, really come after the quarterback. At what point do we finally see Jacksonville's rookie quarterback come in and see what he can do with this offense? So for the silver pick, I am taking Indianapolis in Jacksonville to beat the Jags. My gold pick sees the Houston Texans travel to the New York Giants. Giants, of course, have to be one of the biggest disappointments in the NFL this year, whereas you look at the Texans are playing some pretty good football. I feel really bad. The Giants look like they have something. I talked about Ruben Randall on the video last week, and he made that unbelievable catch in their Week 2 game. There are just way too many problems with that Giants team right now, and quite frankly, from a prognosticating perspective, you gotta strike when the iron's hot. You got good team coming in to play bad team in bad team's home stadium. I'm still going to take good team. So for the gold pick, I'm going to take the Houston Texans on the road to beat the Giants. There you go. That's 3 straight road teams I've taken. And the platinum pick, where I am 1-1, sees the Oakland Raiders come into New England to face the Patriots. I swear to God I'm not a Patriots homer, but they always seem to end up very highly. When I do pick them, they always seem to be really up there on my picks. The Patriots aren't necessarily playing up to expectations right now, but very quietly, Stephen Ridley is putting together a bit of a season. Assuming they have the services of Gronk at tight end, who they are still, again, trying to wean back into being a most down or every down tight end. And Gronk, I think, is a pretty good bet for a touchdown or two in this game. This is the biggest line of the week, with New England favored by 14 points at home. I didn't touch that one on the video. You can see in the description, I did take New England minus those 14 points. I think there is the potential here for a blowout, and that's the way I'm going to go with it. So for the platinum pick, I'm going to take New England to beat Oakland in Gillette Stadium, and there you go. Now let's take a look at the rest of my Week 3 straight-up picks in the NFL 2014-2015. Here they come. That's the Week 3 show for you, folks. Comments, hate, and love, you know where they go. Comment section below. One more time, check the description to the video to get in on the Pick'em League, to see all my Week 3 against the spread picks, to see the links to the rest of the awesome YouTubers that get on and do this every week. In the comments section, remember, I want you to answer me. Are the New Orleans Saints a playoff team this year? And who wins the AFC North? Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, or Cincinnati. That's it for me this week. Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and we'll see you again for Week 4.